facts about myself. So just a heads up and a warning, I have a menagerie of animals at my house. So if you hear a dog bark, which will probably happen, or a cat fight, something, that's typically a quiet day in my house. So I apologize for any animal noises, but if you do want to check them out, I have them all over Instagram. Very excited to be here. I started at SourceCon this month, back in April, and SourceCon to me is just one giant community and one giant family. And I was very excited when I got the call to conduct this webinar because, Search Wizard to me is as part of I am through SourceCon. So, I'm happy to, be here with my extended family today and hopefully pass some cool tricks and tips along. Just if you haven't seen it before, I have to show it, right? Here's SourceCon. So it's actually the largest sourcing publication on the web. We get about 600,000 unique visitors each month. And it's basically a place where you can gather information on how to do various different things. So we have how you can improve your email subject line. That was a topic today from Ben over in the UK. And then yesterday we had Kevin Walters, who's from the Atlanta area. I believe now he's in Vegas. He had a really cool feature on candidate experience and why your messaging system might not work. So it goes beyond sourcing. We have a lot of great stuff. We do have an upcoming conference, which I am very excited to share. So normally traditionally our conference has been about 2 days, but I've extended it to 3 so we can have a happy hour. So we're going to be out in Anaheim, so hopefully we can see some Search Wizard peeps there. We'd love to meet you in person. I know I already know some of you. We have a fantastic schedule. It's going to be our largest conference to date. We have over 24 speakers. Not only did we implement the happy hour, we are starting an innovation lab. So that is a new part to the agenda that we are pleased to launch. And it is just an amazing event that I'm so excited to run for the first time. So feel free to check out the webpage, follow us on Twitter, let me know about the conference, and love to see you there. So I'm here to talk about innovative sourcing strategies beyond LinkedIn. I have a training background. I worked at AIRS for an extremely long time. I think I even taught some of you when I was a trainer there, and last with Manpower Group, where I was kind of in a training role. So I'm used to the training style and webinars, and I'm pretty good with interruptions. So if you have a question, because I get really excited, I get really nerdy, and I talk really fast, just interrupt me. It's okay. I can't see if hands are being raised, so Dan, that might be your signal to come in and let me know to slow down, or if there's a question, or et cetera. But I'm all for good. Oh, thank you. Let's say I'm all for good conversation, good debate. If you like something, let me know. If you don't, that's okay. Let me know that too. But I think it's better not to just sit here and look at the screen, right? We can have a conversation throughout it. So hopefully it's not just me talking, and hopefully you're not going through email right now, but hopefully we can come together and learn some stuff that will just take us outside of LinkedIn. So start with an intro to what I'm about to talk about. If you've ever heard me speak, read anything I've wrote, or just got to know me in the past, you'll know that I have a deep hatred for LinkedIn. LinkedIn to me is like the boyfriend that just won't go away, right? So you have your group of friends that you always complain about this boyfriend to. You really want to break up with him, but you're not really sure if you should, and he's treating me bad, and you're really not getting anything out of him, but for some reason you just can't let go. That's a LinkedIn to our entire industry, right? The return on investment is not great for everyone. When I meet the recruiters that have a huge ROI on LinkedIn, I'm just baffled. Usually they work at Apple, or well, actually not anymore, but because of the layoffs, or Google or Facebook or something. But for me, LinkedIn's never been as fruitful as I think our industry makes out to be, although it was quite good to me back in 2008. So I'm here to show us some strategies beyond, and I even threw in something that we can do inside LinkedIn, which I think is a little bit better than using that funky advanced search engine that they have. So I'm a big fan of, again, not using LinkedIn. At Manpower Group, I was helping lead sourcing in about 45 different countries. And one of my favorite things to implement, and another former SourceCon editor, Amy Beth Hale, who runs sourcing at HP in Seattle, we both came up with this idea of no LinkedIn days. And the whole point was just to get outside LinkedIn. And I added job boards to that as well. So we would have a full day, it's usually a Wednesday, where you have to source outside of LinkedIn or job boards. And the purpose was just to like expand your skill set, try to uncover something new, try to get out of the norm. For me, I can easily scour a job board. I love job boards. Job boards are great. I wish they weren't so expensive, but hey, you pay for what you get. And LinkedIn to me is so oversaturated, and my response rate is relatively low compared to what I have seen at larger corporations in the past. So I like to spend a full day outside of these two areas. And I noticed that through this, and measuring it, of course, is something that we had to do, that we became quite successful at finding talent outside of LinkedIn. Now, hiring managers simply just don't care, right? They don't care if the candidate came from LinkedIn. They don't care if it came from a job board. They don't care if it was referral. They don't care if you wrote the most impressive Boolean string and hacked the way to it. They just want to see the candidate. But I'm here to expand your skill set. So the best thing I can do is offer you creativity. And I'm about to show you some of the ways that I have done things in the past, or I haven't actually sourced in a few months now, so it might be a little rusty. But it's again, the most important thing that I think I can give you today is that you see something and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, but I would do it completely different. To me, that's a win-win, and that's what I want everyone to get to on this call. So before I dive into the actual sourcing stuff, I always want you to envision, what kind of recruiter are you? Are you going to be someone who is kind of like the over-the-top, gung-ho, like loves this industry, to work with the candidates and just be an awesome representation? Or are you going to be like every other recruiter I see, a little bit lazy? This is my lazy recruiter, and I'm going to leave this up there for like a solid minute, so look away if you must. But this is me. Well, it's not me. I don't have a beard anymore. This is my representation of what's wrong with the industry. We are so lazy, and I'm not saying you are, and you guys are probably shaking your head like, please take this image off. But we all have run into lazy recruiters. I've been a lazy recruiter. I was taught how to be a lazy recruiter. Funny that I ended up at Ayers. Nonetheless, I digress. When I first started in this industry, I was taught call sheets, how to use templates, how to smile and dial as fast as you can. To me, it was all about the client, 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 client. And I got into this to get people jobs. So to me, after a while of really failing in this industry, I realized that being lazy just wasn't going to cut it. And that's when I started to work more in the third-party realm, and I started this really funny old blog called Recruiting Rockstar. I remember that's how I met young Kim, who I hope is on this call. But I started this blog, and the first comment was from Young, and he was like, cool string, check out some of mine. And we just started sharing information back and forth. And that's what's so beautiful about this industry, is that we're so open, we're so caring, we're so sharing. However, 99% of us are pretty lazy, and that's putting up a pretty bad reputation in this industry. So think about what kind of recruiter do you want to be, right? Do you want to be the passionate one that's like actually showing results and their clients are drooling over, or do you want to be this guy? Now, as you know, we have a pretty bad reputation in this industry, and I pay attention to this stuff on Twitter often. About 2 nights ago, we had a huge storm roll through Dallas, and I decided to, before it came through, I sat outside with my neighbor, who's probably listening because my windows are open. He doesn't have a job right now, and we're in Dallas, one of the hottest job markets in the world. And he came from Wall Street. He used to be a trader. He's worked the floor. Now he's trying to get into financial sales. And he started with a large financial company based out of Boston, also has offices here in Dallas. And the recruiter flat out lied to him and told him that he was going to be doing that check and stuff for Fidelity. So when he first started and he got in with them, turns out that the recruiter was wrong. And the hiring manager didn't know that there was a disconnect. So sometimes, you can go through the process where you kind of like someone, you're not setting up and talking about the job, and hiring managers aren't perfect, right? So he spent about 7 weeks trying to figure out this new role. It just wasn't from him, and it all fell back on the recruiter, and he was so burnt about that process. go flash forward a few weeks later, he's been working with more financial recruiters in the Dallas industry, and no one's given him any shots, or they're not returning his calls. He has a whole resume in a black hole scenario. More recruiters are lying him, saying they have all these companies for him. Some recruiters won't even talk to him because his resume is to New York and not Dallas. And it's just, he's just like, aren't you in charge of some kind of organization? He's like, what am I doing wrong? And I was like, wow, it sounds like you're not doing anything wrong. It sounds like really you just haven't met the right recruiter yet. And I felt bad that my neighbor had to come up to me because he's seen, my activity on Facebook and say, hey, what is wrong with your industry? And it's kind of where we are right now, and I feel like we can turn it around. So I'm about to show you a bunch of like really cool search strings and really good ideas, and hopefully I stop rambling. But I always want you to think, if we're going to go through this stuff, we're going to build these beautiful strings, and we're going to spend time finding this information, at the end of the day, what are you going to care more about? The actual art of finding the candidate, or the people that you are finding? And so I always say, do you care more about this person, or do you care more about the string? And I hope your answer is you care more about the people, because that's what it's about. I would hate to waste the next hour showing you all this like pizzazz, when at the end of the day, we really need to work on giving back more to the people, caring more about the people that we source. This candidate experience, all that stuff begins to me with sourcers. We might not be courting the candidate throughout the process. We might not get to extend the offer, but we're the first touch. And I'm going to bring up Young again, because I love his post on Facebook, how he's always talking about what he's seen on candidates' profiles and how candidates are responding to his in-malls, as Steve Levy calls it. But I think he's someone that's in the trenches that knows what it looks like when you put bullying ahead of a candidate. So think about that.
Young is indeed.
He's not on?
Yep.
Oh, he is with it. Okay, good. Yes. Hi, Young. I'll be in Chicago soon. Lunch. But again, let's focus on the candidates, not so much on the string. But I'll show you some cool stuff to do with the string. So I had just mentioned that it starts with you as the sourcer, and I want to let you know that 82% of all candidates are going to share their positive experience with their inner circle. This comes from the CANC. I'm on their board, and that's a pretty high number. You get it right, you provide a good experience for it on the sourcing side. Birds of a feather flock together. That's kind of the community we want to hit. I think all of us are pretty much against the talent pipeline word community, however you want to say it. But to me, this is a pretty good one, right? So you do it right, odds are likely other people will find out. And also 51% are going to share those positive experiences on their social media. Or they're going to update their LinkedIn profile, and Young will put it on Facebook. So keep that in mind. This is if you get it right, it will come back to you. Okay, so let's get into all the cool stuff. Now, these are some of my favorite strings, some of my favorite searches. You're probably looking at this and being like, I've never really heard about these sites. That's okay. So I'm here to introduce them. So what I've done in sourcing is I have played around with so many websites over the years. So trying to find different ways to find candidates, trying to find different ways to do various different things. So this is a combination of stuff I've learned. So here I'm looking for a graphic designer, and I might have stolen from a cool guy named Jim Stroud who was looking for some cloud computers. So I said, Jim, I love your strings. Can I borrow them? Can I source? And some of them got really well. So that's why you'll see some that say cloud computing, some that say graphic design, because I borrowed some really good ones from our good friend Jim Stroud. So these are all wonderful places that you can go and find candidates. Now, don't worry about writing this down. Dan's recording this webinar. I can send you these as well. But when you run a few, what you're going to learn, let's start doing that right now. I'm going to go to the bottom one. And this is called a top-level domain search. So a top-level domain search is when you just take the end of the domain, right? Like the first part of it could have been about me, flavors me. There's a lot of personal websites that have like the ME in it, and it's a great way to quickly view a large group of people that might show some kind of an interest in what you're doing. And so right here you can see we're getting a ton of results coming back. right? There's all these different websites. Some are blogs, some are personal sites, some I've never heard of. But the point is there's a lot of great information found at these websites. All right, let me go back to the top. Now, another one that I saw from that long list, let me go back and show you, was I am. I really hadn't heard of that, so Jim showed it to me, and I was like, hi, I am. I don't really know this, but I like the name of it. And when I did that, I found so many other websites at this domain. That is so weird. Again, something that is completely new to me. It doesn't have to just be me or I am. You can do other cool things too, like I could do org, for example. For organization, I can do gov. If I want to switch over to Canada, I could do CA. That's my shout out to Leslie, by the way. So I had to include Canada search in here. So the whole point is you don't have to stick just to one domain. You can do multiple at once. So when you come across these cool websites, right, memorize this. And what I want you to do with it is not memorize it, really, because then that's a lot. I want you to build your own custom search engine. And building your own custom search engine is my favorite thing to do because it is so easy. So if you have a Google account, which I'm sure everyone does on this planet, though I do meet one from time to time that doesn't, you have access to build your own custom search engine. And I've spent a better part of my career building these. So you can see I have a lot in here. Like I have one for recipes. I have one for Indeed. Lambo Group, I worked there in like 5 years. Still have it on there. Qatar Airways, still have it from when I worked there too. So I mean, I keep these in here a lot. So they're pretty easy to build, and this is a cool way to put a bunch of websites in here and not worry about putting all the websites in there. Okay, if you're lost, so am I. But let me show you how to do it. I'm going to click on New Search Engine. Some of you probably are pros at this. I'm not a custom search engine pro, by the way. I keep it pretty basic because I'm not a fancy hacker. I'm more of a realist, and this is going to save me some time. So notice Google tells us how to enter them. We can do parts of a site, the entire domain, entire site, individual pages, etc. So basically, this tells me it's in parts of a site. So what I could do is I could simply say explanation point dot me. Ooh, that's good. And I can also do maybe asterisk and exclamation point dot im. Pretty good, right? Let me pull back up the format so you can see it. Maybe in the PowerPoint slide so it looks nice and fancy. I can add up to 200 of these. And the whole purpose is I'm trying to save you a lot of time. And I could do this for like Gov, for Canada, for any kind of domain I want. If I wanted to come back in here, like let's say there's a .com I really like let's go back to the list. Let's just pull one of these. So favors me. Okay, let's put in Zerpily. That's a cool one. I can add it. And the cool thing about it is you can constantly update this as much as you want. So this isn't set in stone. And you can share it with everyone in your whole entire team. So that's what I did back in my RPO world. Was I would bounce around from account to account to account to account. I was the total redheaded sourcing stepchild of Manpower Group. And I would create these custom search engines, and then I would train people how to do it. Then I would just let them take it over. And they would do a much better job than when I first showed them, because now we're collaborating with our peers. So once I have this done, we'll stick with these websites. I'm not going to add in LinkedIn, right, because this whole webinar is getting away from it. I'm going to change the name of it. So I don't want the name me. I'm going to change the name to, we'll just call it the people. Why not, right? And I'm going to hit create. So pretty good. Congratulations. You're done. Now, I always test it before I do anything else. So we're going to go back to custom search engine. See, here's the people. I'm not going to click on that. I'm going to click on the public URL. And here is where I can type it, or I can test it. I'm going to say graphic design, or probably maybe I'll go graphic designer, right? Let's play around with it. Let me run this and see what I get coming back. All right, not bad. So I only get 100 results coming back. That's okay because I can play around with it. So I got some pretty cool hashtags. See, that might not be a candidate, but that's something I can use on Twitter. And I can add in, honestly, more things, location, or anything I want to get more information coming back. So that's what I like to do to save time, because it's hard for me to memorize all the websites. Instead, oops, sorry about that, keep going back to this page. Instead, I just put it into a custom search engine. So before I move on to experimenting with this custom search, did anyone have any questions about building one?
Just raise your hand and I will unmute you. Anybody?
Cool. Let me go on, but again, I'm a big fan of interrupting. So another one, I'm going to stick with the same string I just had, is, and this is what something I was talking with my buddy Jim Stroud about. I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we found how they're giving up their contact information? Because let's be honest, everyone can look for resumes, and we'll hit that in just a second, but let's find a candidate that's giving up their contact information. So I call this nesting. It's a popular error technique. I don't know the actual name for it, but let's open up our search engine again. What this is going to do is I'm going to search on the word. Notice I have my quotation marks on the outside, right? So contact or call or email or follow or DM or network or join, or I can even add, I'm going to add one more, like link, right? And then I have me or at or on. And this, the whole thing I'm looking for is to pick out phrases like email me, right, or DM me, or join me, or follow on. You know, I'm looking for these various types of phrases that maybe this graphic design or designer might have on their profile. So I'm trying to reveal how the candidate wants me to contact them. So, I mean, look at the first one that comes back. Contact me to get in touch. Cool. So follow on Instagram. Okay, well, maybe I'll follow him on Instagram, right? Maybe I'll send him a picture of my dogs. I don't know. Join me. I'm a graphic designer living. Here's a phone number right now, or email me. It's so many different ways, but follow me on Behance. Sure. Maybe I'll source on Behance too. Good idea. But I allow the candidate to tell me how they want to get contacted. And this is a better way for me to search for words like resume and CV and bate and things that recruiters get caught up in doing, because I am on page 2 and I haven't seen those words boldly just yet. So these are people who are not even mentioning those words that recruiters typically give at the beginning of their search, right? I mean, I remember I'm actually writing a post right now for SourceCon called Plagiarism in Recruiting, and it was because, like, when I was at AIRS, we had this set string that we always did. I was like, entitled resume, or in URL resume, or entitled CV. And everyone would use that same template string over and over and over and over again. And what I realized is we're all getting back to the same results. So I stopped using it. I just threw it out when I went to Manpower Group because I wanted to see different information. So by me searching for some of these terms that we just looked at, now I have a better chance to try to identify a candidate based on various different languages on their profile. So some people call this a natural language search. Some people call it strategic exclusion. You know, there's various different terms from it. I call it just sourcing. And again, I'm using different phrases to try to find those candidates. To me, this is a passive candidate. A passive candidate isn't one that puts the resume online. So these are some of the experiments that I like to do. Now, one of my good friends, I think everyone knows him, I hope everyone knows him, Glenn Cassidy. Every time I ask him, all right, Glenn, Jim Stroud gave me a bunch of cool searches. You know, what are you going to do for me? He was like, I'll give you my greatest tool that anyone has access to. And I was like, what? He's like, your brain. I was like, oh yeah, Glenn Cassidy, your brain, totally the best tool out there. What do you mean? And he's like, no. Your brain, Shannon, is the best sourcing tool. He's like, everyone's brain. He's like, it's thinking. It's being creative. It's trying to do something that somebody else isn't doing, right? I mean, we all know the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I feel like in sourcing, we are all insane people. And it's such a monotonous job that we get caught up in that way. So that made me think, okay, so Glenn wants me to use my brain, and that's what I was kind of doing with the contact me stuff. But again, I ask the question, why are we always looking for resumes, right? What CVs? It's just really, you guys are all RPO type world. When you're on your client side, I'm sure you've heard the buzzwords like passive candidate, talent pipeline, resumes. What's another buzzword? Mobile recruiting, social media. Right? We hear it from time to time again, but in reality, to me, is the landscape has completely changed. We have to be so much more creative when we source. So what I started doing is I started getting away from the word resume, and I started subtracting them from my search. And you can throw around words like CV, the pay. You can subtract them anything you want. But, and again, this goes back to the conversation with Glenn, and I remember one of his SourceCon presentations a very long time ago where he was trying to get down to the people on LinkedIn who had one connection, and that's who he wanted to connect with. And I was like, that is so beautiful, Glenn. I want the person that has like one connection on LinkedIn. I don't want the person who has 20,000 that's going to constantly comment on pictures of girls in bikinis. I don't want that person. So, but we all email those people. So check out this search, right? So I'll make it big again. Sorry, I made it small. So I have my skill sets here that I'm looking for. And then I'm subtracting the word resume. I'm removing the word job, removing the word sample, removing the word LinkedIn. And now what I'm looking for, area codes around the Dallas area. And no one really lives in Dallas. I'm not using the word Dallas, but I'm using Dallas area codes. And remember, we're talking to a computer here, so sometimes you'll get phone numbers, sometimes you won't. Sometimes we'll get things like a cosmetic dentist who somehow has Java on his resume. But this is a completely different search than typically we see before. So what would I do? I'd go back here and say minus dentist, minus plumber. But you're still going to get great people coming back. You're going to get conversations on message boards. Those are my favorite. I love stalking people on message boards. You're going to get different community members. You're going to get phone numbers, obviously. Look, even Pete, we said no resumes, but he gave us his resume because he probably listed it somewhere else besides the title field or the URL address, right? You're going to get a ton of information here that you typically wouldn't find with a basic search. So, of course, there'll be some crossover, but this is the kind of search that I like to do is just change it up and do the opposite, right? If the whole industry is going to do it one way, let's do it the other. And I like phone numbers because we're not picking up the phone as much as we used to. At Manpower Group, the number one way to get you fired, and keep in mind this, we had something like, on RPO we had over 1,000 recruiters. I'm not sure how many were in the whole company, but was not picking up the phone. So many new recruiters would come in, they would do great. After a year and a half, they just weren't picking up the phone. We get rid of them. And I mean, it was amazing how often this was a conversation. They could run the best Boolean strings in the world, but if you couldn't pick up the phone, they didn't add value to us. It was quite sad. So here is a way where you can get all those phone numbers. And I'm not done. I got more to show. So let's do the same search, but with email addresses. Now, email addresses are really fun to find. They're easy, right? This is the same exact search. I got rid of the, phone numbers, and I added an email because the search could be just as good. You might even get the same results. But look, I get like a digital library coming back in here. I get various different files, blogs. There's a ton of good things. Your PDF links. Awesome. This is to see. Now, I like to use extensions too, and there are so many extensions that can just automatically extract email. This is good to make sure like your search is working, but I would not hot copy this and put it into a template because I don't know for sure. You might have that dentist somewhere in here, right? You don't really know. But I would open issues for MyCat servers. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for, right? I'm talking about like someone who apparently made a comment or someone who's having some kind of a discussion. Don't get me wrong, I go immediately to these PDF documents, but you can also maybe even search like for a list of names. So many different ways to do it. But the whole point is this is something different than most recruiters aren't doing. So just throwing some ideas out there for you. Now, if you are going to look for resumes, One of my favorite ways to do that is by using SourceHub. And I hope by now everyone is using SourceHub. And I'm not saying that because SourceHub might have a relationship with social talent, but I actually really think it's worthwhile to use it because it's absolutely free. So SourceHub is going to build the Boolean strings for you. So I can enter a job title, we'll say finance manager, as location, I'll go Dallas, do Dallas, Fort Worth, big city, and then they're going to boom send me, give me a string. They had a bunch of words that could be useful. So you can see all this, and here it is right here. So this long string is what they gave me. Now, what I noticed about this beautiful thing, and this was not the intention of SourceHub, but what I noticed is people were like, cool, let me go to LinkedIn, immediately run it, or let me just have this automate for LinkedIn. This was never the intention of SourceHub. The intention of SourceHub was to save us time and not worry about memorizing the Boolean, but also to make it easier on ourselves, more creative. So let me just make this a little bit larger here. Now, this is a pretty long string. Now, first off, I would never search on the word Dallas/Fort Worth and quotes because no one put that in the resume. Next thing I would do is I would read this long list of beautiful synonyms and skill sets that they gave me, and I would build my own string out of this. Now, I could take off words like NNGR, that might be like a European thing, but yes, finances, the Z is definitely a European thing. But this is something that I'm going to go with, right? I'm not going to use it word for word for word because everyone's doing that. I'm going to be a little bit more creative, and I'm going to pull bits and pieces from it. So my best advice when using SourceHub, develop your own string first, go to SourceHub, see what they do, it's like someone else's eyes on it, and merge the two together. Remember, your brain is going to be the most powerful sourcing tool, not Johnny Campbell's. But this is pretty good, right? So we can use it for great advice. But that's how I like to use SourceHub. Is I like to have a fine marriage between the two and not just copy what he did. Now watch, if I go to the end of this and automatically change this, I just say Dallas, and watch this. Let me take off this and say watch minus LinkedIn minus resume. There's something little like this. You're going to get completely different results by just doing something little like that. You're getting a list of companies. It might not be named, but hey, not a bad start, right? To me, a list of names is just as good as anything we can find. Like this guy right here. So wealth management and lead, the founder, you got Trey, Mike, Amy, Cheryl. Okay, out of the three of this, let's see here, if I had to contact one, I'm probably going to contact Mike because he looks the most angriest. And if you come across a list of names and like wonderful pictures, I always recommend looking at the person that looks like they don't want to be there that day, and that's the person that you want to call. Don't call the happy-go-lucky one that's very excited to show up. Contact the person that looks a little bit angry. All right, see good competitive intelligent information here, and I bet if I played around a little bit, I could probably find a list of people. Like these are companies. Great, just as good of a search, right? Doesn't always have to be people. All right, so that's my SourceHub tutorial. Okay, so now obviously I like Mean Girls and stock images. So let's get into some fun stuff, things that I think recruiters really need to be doing. So first, Facebook search. Now, I'm sure everyone's seen Facebook search, but I like to use it in a different way. It's always amazing to me. Now, by the way, we're about to go to Facebook. I'm friends with some of you on Facebook, so if you posted anything appropriate you didn't want anyone else to see, now's the time to go ahead and delete it. So that's my Facebook warning. But this is a cool tool from Shane McCluster. I hope you've heard about it before. Write down this website, intel-sw.com/blog/Facebook-search. He has a Chrome extension. I have enough Chrome extensions. I like to simply use his tracker. And this works insanely well on Facebook. And what I've noticed on Facebook is nobody is recruiting on Facebook because you posted a job, that does not mean you're recruiting on Facebook, right? What I mean is, every single day I get about 5, maybe 10 in malls, we'll call them, from different recruiters asking me to do their job that I'm overqualified for or just have no interest in doing. I kind of wish I could publish them the source con. I've never yet got a message or an email. Well, I wouldn't get an email on Facebook, but you know what I mean. I have yet to get one on Facebook. I don't understand. There's more recruiters, I feel like, actively that I speak with in my network on Facebook than LinkedIn. I'm connected to more recruiters on LinkedIn who isn't, but the group I'm actually engaging is on Facebook. So I recommend we start messaging candidates on Facebook. We had pretty good success doing that in Manpower group. And what we would do, we would just state the obvious. We'd be like, hey, I'm not here to look at pictures of your kids or cats. I'm here basically because I did a search and you came back as a stellar match. Let's take the conversation away from Facebook. Again, I'm not looking at your profile, but let me know how I can, let's try to find some time to connect. And usually you get some kind of a response too. But you kind of say the obvious, you make it uncomfortable, tell them a joke, they love jokes, and make it more about them and not you. That's a good way to get a hold of them. All right. So let me continue. So you can search for anything you want, like all jobs. We'll do an engineer. And here goes my dog. Sorry about that. So you can hear whining. Location. So we'll do live. We'll do that Dallas area. I live in a small town called Trophy Club. Terrible name. No one really knows it. And like, okay, just because I had a picture of him doesn't mean I like him. I was just in Canada the last time I did this. But Justin Bieber. Now, you'll be amazed when you run this search how many engineers are going to love Justin Bieber. Now, this is funny, right? Because we can be like, ah, ha, 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 they like Justin Bieber. But here's the point. First off, Facebook has a lot of freaky information. Second is, if I'm going to call Nicholas right here, who is a software engineer at Raytheon, who I found on Facebook. I don't know if he has a security clearance. Maybe. Love the picture, dude. But what I would do is be like, hey, Nick, I know you like Justin Bieber. And then when he called me, I would have Justin Bieber playing in the background. Imagine that. That's good candidate experience. So I once had an interview where the person found out that I really, really like Dave Matthews Band. And that's all I did was have the people talking about Dave Matthews Band the whole time. And I left, and I was like, oh, my God, this is so cool. These are people just like me. And then later I found out, no, this is just a really good sourcing team that knows how to do their homework. So the whole point is they provided me a wonderful experience. It didn't feel like an interview. It felt like I was just talking with my homies the whole time. So it's fun stuff that we can find on Facebook, and of course we can find candidates too. So I recommend using Shane McCluster's tool. There's another website called Search Back. That's pretty good too. Gives you a little different options. You can actually search diverse candidates on there, which I know some of you Microsoft peeps on this call. I had to do that when I was at Manpower Group. They were always looking for certain diverse sections in the market. I'm speaking to Microsoft next, and they want me to do a diversity presentation. I'm going to be bringing up Justin Bieber on Facebook the whole time. So, Dan, let's take a pause to see if anyone has any questions.
I've been trying to monitor that, Shannon. I don't see anybody with a hand up, but I'm sure there's some questions. Anybody? Just tell me and I'll unmute you. Raise your hand. Tell you what, I'm going to try to unmute all for just a second and see if anybody has anything they'd like to ask. And that doesn't seem to work. Oh, we do have a question from Michael Day. Michael, Shannon's ready for you.
Hey, Shannon, nice to hear from you again. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you, Michael. Shannon may have stepped away for just a moment.
Oh, no problem. So, as we were kind of going through the instruction here, I was looking at, I actually did run the search on Facebook, and very surprised by the results. I just think it's an outstanding tool. And I'm wondering if she could just kind of expand on that a little bit more from the Facebook search perspective.
Shannon, did you hear that question? Yep, there you are.
Yeah, can you hear me? Oh, okay, yes. Hey, Mike, what's up? I guess my line got muted there. But Yeah, no, it's, I'm happy to expand on it too, and let me show the other side I was talking about. The really cool thing is that the graph search really never went away on Facebook, and so, you know, we're still able to search all 1.6 billion profiles. And people always say, like, well, not everyone gives up your information to Facebook, like, says what their jobs are, where they live, or anything like that, but that's actually not true. This is a good example of people who have given up that information. And so, like, even let's say if a quarter of the people on LinkedIn, or I'm sorry, well, here I go again, right? Even if a quarter of the people only give up that information, that's still more people than LinkedIn alone. So you can search through a plethora of different information. It doesn't have to be just likes, but you can do like speech languages, education, where they went to school, places they've visited. You just have to, like, if I take off Justin Bieber and run that search again, I'm obviously going to get a whole different group of people. The only thing that I noticed about there is that people typically aren't too technical about what they do. Like, you're not going to see too many like Java developers, for example, or any of the fancier job titles that we know in our industry, and that language might be more appropriate for a LinkedIn, so to speak. So let me go to searches back. Now,
Shannon, I can't see your screen any longer. Can everybody else see Shannon's screen?
Oh.
Michael, can you see her screen?
Just it states innovative sourcing strategies beyond LinkedIn at the top.
Aha, so we have lost your screen somehow, Shannon.
Uh-oh. Let's get it back. How can we do that? No one can see your webcam. Okay, wait, that's not it. No one can see your screen. Okay, let me click this. Can you see it now?
Yes, there we go.
Okay, and Dan, can you hear me?
We can hear you and we can see your screen now. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, technology is hard. These are the results that I showed last with that search when I removed Justin Bieber from it. Actually, this is still the search because it's showing Justin Bieber. So this is the search that doesn't show Justin Bieber. So you get just a completely different audience. And be careful how you search, because like when I go into like different countries and I do this, which it works outside the U.S., you get the most inappropriate results. I don't know what. Maybe just we have more strict profile pictures, but use a caution for sure.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, Shannon. Can you strategically source U.S. only using this?
Yeah, you can source by location, so that's the only way to do it. You can't say United States, but you can enter the state name or the city. For example, I could say, if I just said Glasgow, that's not going to guarantee I get results from Glasgow, Kentucky. I'm also going to see people from Glasgow, UK. So I would have to say Glasgow, United Kingdom, or Glasgow, UK to get a little bit more specific about those results. So you see that with often with cities that are shared. Dallas is a bad example because there's not many Dallases out there, but smaller cities with common names. And the search is great for sourcing with those smaller cities because LinkedIn, we don't have access to that. So you can really pinpoint by geolocation with these searches. Searches back. When you come to this, at top where it says search for, make sure you say, you can say all people, non-friends, or friends. It goes to friends by default. And so a lot of people don't like to say because they don't know how to use it because they missed it. It's hard to see. I'll make it bigger. See, search for all people. So make sure that is on. And then here you can do gender, which I think is really good. So we'll do like female. I could care less about their relationship status, but we'll do Seattle. We can even target people at Microsoft. I have a feeling my dog's about to bark. Job title, we'll do engineers there. I'm just going to do an engineer. And so now it's pulling all the women who are at Microsoft, live in the Seattle area, and you can see work there. So this is like, and again, notice there's not a ton of people coming back. That's typically what you see because you also have to think, who's going to be entering their profile as female, who's going to live in the city of Seattle, who's going to have all this. So there's a lot of different information coming back, but it gives me a pretty good segment to work with. And then you can even specify that by school too. So if I went back to the search, and this is one that I've actually done, instead of company, school, I can say former, and you can do this with the other one. Like you can do Stanford University, that lives in Seattle, that are women. So this is all, again, stuff that some of these bigger companies really like you to do. I don't know why it's being so limited today, but nonetheless, we have these options. All right. So one of the last things that I want to talk about, which is something that I love doing, and I've been doing it for a while, is natural language search. So natural language search is identifying conversations that people might be having online. So this is not going to produce a candidate immediately for you. Well, it will, but I doubt that candidate's going to be interested. But it's going to allow you to find a various different candidates by what you're searching for. So you can see I'm searching for I am a graphic designer or I'm a graphic designer. I added in a skill set I was looking for, like Photoshop. And when you do these searches, right, so you're going to get people who are identifying themselves on the web. And you can also add in location too. I'm going to use this one. So this is one of my favorites. It's I or my specialty. Your specialize are in Photoshop. And so you're saying someone who does something. You can always use Google image search to help cut through the clutter. And so when I run this, of course, you get people who are identifying themselves. Like I specialize in Illustrator, I specialize in CSS, all right? This is exactly what I was looking for, these kind of languages. My specialty is Adobe. I can also go to images, and I can see the people who are talking about various different things. So I'm probably not going to click on the Legos. Maybe I kind of want to click on the fox, but maybe this guy, right? Oh, look, he's the one that specializes in Adobe Photoshop. Awesome. That's exactly what I want to see. And looking at images is kind of fun, and it's kind of different. It's something that we typically do. I like to do at the end of the day when my brain is fried and I'm looking at Google results all day. And so this is the latest string that I've been obsessed with. It's looking for org charts. So here, not org charts, I'm sorry, like family photos. So here I'm looking for the words right to left or left to right. And you could, if you can see the picture, let me make this a little, sorry, my screen's a little sensitive there. This is a search that you can do in Google, but I would do it in Google Images because that's what you're going to get. You're trying to find people who are going to be listed by their name. Let me switch over to Images. And there's so many other like different verbiage like you can use. Like right here, it says left to right, and it names like Emily and Kathleen and Patricia. That's exactly what I was targeting, that term. And it's just one of those like really cool ways to find people online. Talk about a passive candidate, right? They've done something for their company to put them online, and boom, here they are. So that's kind of the new thing I've been doing along with natural language searches, is to get a little bit more involved with this. And also, of course, I put some strings in looking for various different names. So last thing I wanted to show, and Dan, I'm just going to send you this presentation, because I know we talked about this earlier, but I went so fast that I'm just going to go ahead and give you the link to it.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
No problem. But because I said we weren't going to go to LinkedIn, but I want to show you something on LinkedIn. This is my favorite way to do that right now. And so when you do want to go over to LinkedIn, all I like to do right now is copy and paste this string. And this is a different way to search. You don't have to worry about Boolean. You don't have to worry about anything like that. So, by the way, this number always changes. It's funny. It sometimes goes up, sometimes goes down. LinkedIn stock. But here you can like segment people by various different categories. So, right, I want to live in the United States. I could search it, and I can even go further, right? I can do like something like a local city in here. For example, I can do like, we'll do Dallas. I'm sorry, I'm being so creative, speaking of where I live. So now I got people targeted in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Where do they work? Target American Airlines. My husband works for Southwest, so just some competitive analysis. Where do they work? Target the IT department. And then when I go over here, oops, I'm sorry. This is what I'm trying to click on. It gives me where are they skilled at, what are they studying, how they are connected. So let's say I want someone that's familiar with process improvement. And I'm going to go down to my little list. And it breaks down these people for me. So I'm not playing around in LinkedIn search, and this doesn't count against anything. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure LinkedIn is monitoring our profile views, but this is way will give me some people, and it'll keep going on and on that match my search. Again, I don't have to click on Boolean. I can be broad, and it's kind of forcing me now to look at the profile a little bit more. So it kind of goes along the same principles as the reverse image search, and now we're able to see all these wonderful people that work at American that live in Dallas that are in IT, do process improvement. And if you scroll to the top, you can see all the other options that you have that you can search on too. So this is technically a university search, but notice I didn't list the university, so that's why I'm getting back to everyone. So to me, it's fun, easy, and I know we talked a lot about Boolean, but there's no Boolean required in it. So don't break out with LinkedIn just yet. Copy and paste that search because it's great. Again, doesn't count against your search limit. And last thing that I had in here was just when you go to contacting candidates, I have some good advice for you. So that's all I have. I wanted to, finish at least a minute early for questions. And Dan, I'm going to send you this deck so you can make it available for your team. I'm doing that because I went so fast. And before I leave, I want to see if there was any questions from anyone.
We'll definitely share that with everybody, as well as a lot of people wanted to be here today that signed up, and we got the normal, sorry, something's come up at work, I can't be there, but please send us the video afterwards. Everybody's going to get that, and I'm going to be happy to share the deck with them as well that that you've offered to share. Anybody have any questions here while we still have Shannon online? Don't be shy. Now's your time. I don't see any. Oh, that was Michael. I think we've answered Michael's question. I don't see any other.
The only thing I'm going to leave with Dan is if you have a question, send me an email or send it through Facebook. If you send it through LinkedIn, I'm probably not going to get to it. So, so let's utilize what we talked about and hit me up on Facebook or email.
Shannon, thank you so much for the presentation. It was wonderful. Last chance, anybody? Put your hand up. I'll unmute you quickly if you have a comment. Dave Love has a comment. Dave, I'm unmuting you. Dave, can you? There you are.
I haven't done that much with Facebook as far as finding candidates and what have you. So once you've located all these possible candidates on Facebook, what's the best method to contact them?
I like to go just through Messenger because people do get the alert. Keep track of it because some people are going to be more responsive than others because this is, a newer way that we are starting to contact candidates.
Right.
Kind of reminds me of where we were 10 years ago with LinkedIn. You want to track your success. And as I mentioned earlier, I would state the obvious and I'll say, hey, I'm not looking at pictures of your children, I'm not looking at pictures of your kids. I have this position, you seem to meet it, throw in something else that's going to be a little bit more personalized to get them to respond. And then I list my email address and phone number to get them to contact me outside of it. We did that for high-level positions at Manpower Group, and we had a positive response. We started doing it with higher up, and we had a little bit of a slower response, but it was still faster than what we would get typically through trying to connect with them on LinkedIn. And we did not have LinkedIn Recruiter account. So I say the obvious, try to make it comfortable, and try to have some kind of a call to action that gets me outside of Facebook. And that's for the candidate's comfort, too.
Yeah, I did that searches back here just to test it, and that's a pretty awesome tool. But it comes up with all these people that says add a friend.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. You can actually just send them a message directly. So, okay, so yeah, you don't want to, Yeah, you don't want to like, it's kind of like a blind date, right? You're on Match.com right now. You don't
Yep.
want to just start, swiping right or whatever that is. At least get to know them first or send that message. So don't freaking off too much.
Shannon, we have a question from Sheila Esau for you if you're willing to take another. Shannon,
Of course.
you're unmuted.
Hi, Shannon. I think the previous person actually asked that question. I thought you needed to friend a person on Facebook to be able to ask them, more information or details or communicate with them. But what you're saying is that you don't need to friend them.
It is open.
Right.
So Facebook really wants us to be using Messenger more. And so what happens if you're not connected with it, that person is going to get an alert. If they have Messenger downloaded on their phone, which over 1 billion people do, except my husband, they're going to get an alert on their phone. Yeah. Right. They're going to get an alert on their phone that there is a message in there. And they'll also see it as an alert on their in their Facebook profile. So you do have, they will get those. So it won't go into their main folder, but it'll go into the other ones that need to be approved first, which kind of sounds similar to in-mails, right?
Right. It's just that I think a lot of people don't, if you don't know someone, they don't want to talk to you, especially on Facebook, because it's usually limited to their family and friends.
So true. That's why you really have to state what you're doing. Research shows that like 80% of candidates are going to be open to communicating on there. And like I said, I haven't had any objections yet to it, but I think you are totally right because it's so new and it's so different. We really haven't tapped in yet that I do think you need to make it more comfortable for the candidates first. So because we're still treading in uncharted territory at this time. But I think this is like, to me, it's like I haven't gotten one yet personally, but I get like 10 a day on LinkedIn. Who does it?
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Those were great. Going once, going twice. Shannon, I think that we've reached the end. I want to thank you again for a wonderful presentation and for taking the time to demonstrate all these wonderful tools for people. And I want to wish everybody a great rest of their Thursday and a nice weekend ahead. Shannon, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to watch your presentation.
Thank you so much. Pleasure was all mine.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome presentation.
Bye.
Bye.